Greetings everyone. I'm going to give you some explanations regarding this channel and answer some questions that are coming to me. Also, I'm gonna talk somewhat about my script. All of these things are difficult to talk about because the basis for them is only something you have deep inside you and not something tangible. And that's why I put a lot of these matrix messages in my videos, because they are tangible and people like proof and evidence for stuff. And what I'm saying here is you should come to this channel already knowing what you must do and not just clueless and then me telling you what to do, because I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving rare information that should serve as a confirmation to what you already know that you should be doing. And what you do with it is totally up to you. This experience we call life is bizarre, if you can call it that, because to understand it and to imagine what's going on here right now is to imagine two PC game characters having a genuine conversation about you, about your life in the outside world of the computer. They should just be characters that you play, but what's happening is they are having a conversation about your real life because somehow they became alive. And that's what's going on when you wake up. You are no longer a character following the program. You are starting to wake up to the truth of your reality. And don't worry, an anime is already created to cover that topic. Quote, "The underlying primary physic reality is so inconceivably complex that it can be grasped only at the furthest reach of intuition, and then but very dimly. That is why it needs symbols." Unquote. Carl Jung. The intuition he speaks about can grow to a deep knowing, and that is a part of the purpose of the whole raising the frequency journey. The devil is in the details, and even when I tell you my story in this short video, you may be able to relate to some stuff, but the truth is, I don't know how much will you benefit from hearing this. Although I can imagine some of you will, and some of you will be encouraged to stay on the path and keep playing to live an awesome life and for the future of your consciousness as part of Source. I don't feel compelled to do this, but I do have compassion for Source players that found this info, and I decided to tell you this stuff and how I know this to be true and how I got where I am today. But you know, by doing this, I might be doing you a disservice, because when I give information like this, all you do is judge it for if it is true or false, and you should judge it, but when you do that, you are not receiving the knowledge through your source connection, and instead you judge if I am right or wrong. And since this game is so personalized, you can't get your own knowing by believing me and just hearing my story or anyone else's, because words can't transfer my mind fully and what happened within me. I can only describe to you different stages of my life that in comparisons are a bit unusual to what most people experience. If you are unsure about all this, the rules of the Matrix, are they really the rules, and must you give up meat and sex and whatever? The most elegant solution to end that debate is to give it a try for a period. And if you can do it, observe what has changed, and if you can't, that should indicate to you how strong your willpower is. And if you do it and then find out that it does not benefit you, just stop and go back to eating meat and forget all about this. You cannot bend spoons if you cannot master your thoughts and your body. And also, you don't need these videos to become rich. You can become rich via low frequency activities. I mean, there is the dark web. Order some drugs, start selling them at a higher price. You can do pornography if you can do that, or just invest a lot of your time and energy into creating a business that will bring you money. Low frequency source players can and do prosper in this game. However, they age and they get sick, and most of them will admit no matter how much currency they have, they still feel unfulfilled. It's just one thing after the other to numb their consciousness. And that does work. Material things feel good, sex feels good, and it works. The problem is you can do it for a limited number of time until you expire. The same is with drugs. They kill you on the long run, and you need more and more to satisfy you if you are doing it too often. You can use this information to have experiences you dream of, or dreamed of, maybe when you were little, before your physical body took a hold of you and before you started thinking with your other head. And once you get a taste of that, you won't look back, because you can have everything you wanted, and the currency will also be a part of it, and it will be fun. The journey and the destinations are going to be fun without stress and unpleasant experiences. But on your way to that, you will be tested. It really takes one to sit down and be honest with yourself about what you want from life. Unless you clear that out, you'll want empowerment, but you'll also be stuck in your old habits and behaviors. And in a way, the middle ground sucks big time, because you are existing on several frequencies, and in that state you can't feel good and you can't manifest properly because you are not in alignment. Orgasms are a major killer of energy, happiness, and empowerment. However, if your dream life is to have a house with lots of kids and a spouse, then you don't need to give up the orgasms, because that's the experience you want, and you are having it, and you are happy and living your dream life. If your dream life is to change partners every week and have lots of sex, then this information is not for you, because you are already living your dream life. The problem is, when you are not satisfied with what you are experiencing, you want more and better, and you already know that somehow there is no room for those experiences you want, because you are stuck in your own life, in your own creations, in your own script, and you see no way out. That's why you need the outside of the box thinking. And to get there, you need extra energy to power up your brain enough to reach that state of mind. I'll cover the energy in my next video, so I won't go into it much here. So this channel gained a number of subscribers I honestly never thought it would in such a short time, and it's nice to know to me that players are waking up and searching, and that I'm not alone in this knowledge seeking, discovering yourself journey, because chances are not many around you get this info, and it can be a lonely path, and before you get some touchy results, it may not be the most fun path, although it should be. If these videos can assist only one person, I would do them and consider them worth my time. But also, yes, this channel is monetized, because when I made it, I was like, yeah, my wish is to provide useful information on YouTube of any kind at that time. Information that is a bit more useful than makeup tutorials, and I never even considered doing this until I was certain that what I'm talking about here is true, because sharing information like this is a responsibility to a degree. I am intruding your lives, your universes, and possibly making an impact. But of course, everything is by consent. You can always shut it off and not watch it anymore. Until I was completely sure that what I was sharing is truth, I didn't want to do it. I monetized this channel not because I plan to become rich out of making YouTube videos sharing this particular information. If that was my plan, I would film my dog after I taught him to say I love you, and I bet that would have gotten me much more subscribers and cash. Plus, there are only about 1.5 million Source players in this time frame, so I'll never be PewDiePie. This channel was up a few years from now, and it wasn't until recently that I earned 70 euros from the ads. And that money really isn't the equivalent of the energy and time I used to obtain this information that took years to do, and the time and energy that I spent to make one of these videos. And I'm not complaining, I enjoy doing it because I get super excited when I learn something new and useful. And even if there wasn't an option to monetize a YouTube channel, I would still put this info out there because I think it's worth it, making it more accessible, because it's the best thing that ever happened to my life and I want to share that with others. But since there is an option, I said, why not get some money from the ads? I'll invest it in a proper camera and equipment that will help me convey this message in a better way, and in the future show you what life can be if you live the best version of you. Remember, we are all one, and assisting you is actually assisting me, so purely selfish reasons. Now, how I know we are all one? This is something you need your source self-connection to know, and as much as I try to explain it using terms from Quartz Crystal Channel, you will still be in a realm of believing me and not knowing it for yourself. All of you who are watching this information are in different stages of this awakening journey, let's call it so. And you can call it spiritual and toss it in the New Age section, but it's not what this is. Spirit is a word. Words are spells that program us. And when we say spirit, we usually relate it to ghosts, souls, religion, chakras, some energy that leaves when we die. Whatever information we hear, we always try to relate it to what we already experienced, and most of our experiences came from this matrix and not from source. You need to learn to distinguish what parts of you are your soul, your body, and your source fractal, your source consciousness, and your source energy. It takes time and desire to obtain this awareness and knowledge and self-examination, and it's a process, it's a journey, and you can't really write the manual for it. And answers do come, and that high you get from your expanding consciousness is the best feeling I ever experienced here in my life. It's not a vision or some mystical, trippy experience. It's a deep knowing and images popping up in your mind, but it really feels more like a remembrance, not like you are being taught by a spirit guide or something external to you. Instead, it feels like you start wondering, how did I not know this whole time? It feels like this was here always, but I didn't notice it before. That kind of feeling. It's really hard to find words for all these experiences, but if I figured it out, so can you. And it's really not a strange experience, because you're experiencing yourself, really. Your knowing of who you truly are has been taken away from you, and it's easier to identify with your avatar here in this game, especially because most people don't see your source self, only your physical slash illusionary body, and that's how they get you to behave in your role on this stage. But that was the whole point of this game, to overcome the body, but not as an enemy, instead placing it in alignment with your other frequency bodies so it can work for you and not against you. And that's what slaying the dragon is also about. Chaos magic is becoming popular these days, and I'll go in depth about that in some other video. But in chaos magic you have a state of consciousness some call the gnosis, where you totally merge and submit your subconscious mind to your conscious mind, so you can do powerful visualizations. Because the subconscious mind is the major player in creating and manifesting. Take a dream, for example. You don't focus on every detail in your dream landscape when you dream. Your subconscious creates it without you putting effort to it. And what most people don't realize, your subconscious mind creates your waking life also. And that's why shadow work is important. Your body and your subconscious mind must become your friends, and you must act as one. That's the combo for mega empowerment. But I think most of you figured that out already. When I talk about knowing is not deep believing. Trust me, I know what deep believing is. You need to experience it to know it, no other way. And of course, you may now think, well, you say I need to get rid of all these things in my life, the meat, the orgasms, and other stuff. How can I know for sure that all of that will bring me consciousness levels and power in my life? How can I believe you to be saying the truth? If you are eating meat or you just started this journey of discovering truth, you don't have the knowing. You do have it, but it's weak and easily clouded by your soul and your body that are all parts of this matrix, especially on low frequencies. You are merged with the matrix right now, and that's why you need to find yourself inside your own being within this state that is now consisting of your physical body, your emotions, your conscious and subconscious mind, and your source self fractal, which is powering all these other bodies and existing or vibrating on frequency consciousness levels 5 through 11. You always have a small connection even when you are in lower frequencies, because there needs to be a flow of energy so those other bodies can be powered. But in a way, it's a one-way connection, and you need to strengthen it so it can become a two-way pipe. And then you can actually control the energy at will, and things like telekinesis, manifesting, and controlling the matrix in general are very possible. When you are in the lowest frequencies, it's only natural that diseases happen because your source self can't properly power your body. And imagine what your body could be when that connection is at its highest. So how does that connection happen? Imagine an object that is vibrating like some mobile phones do. Vibrations are described with frequencies in physics. Now put another object on that vibrating object, and the other object will also start to vibrate. However, if the objects don't touch, the other object will just stay still. It's the same with your frequency bodies. You need them close together in your soul cage so vibrations can travel from your source fractal to your other bodies. Your source fractal vibrates on frequency level 11, and you need to line up your other bodies with that source fractal so it can transfer its vibrations on your other bodies, harmonizing them so they can act as one. However, To do that, you need to be doing the work that is allowing that to happen. Meat makes your body heavy in a metaphorical way, and it makes it unable to vibrate more than a level 4 frequency, enabling the transfer of your source fractal vibrations to your physical body. It is resisting the transfer of frequency. In reality, it transfers just enough to keep you alive and functional. Orgasms. Instead of redirecting your nerve energy to the rest of your brain, to parts of your brain that are sleeping and that are related to all these abilities you could have, you direct it to the nerves in your reproductive systems and you experience an orgasm. The powers of manifestation and the orgasm drain your life energy, your source fractal. So it's only your choice how do you want to spend that energy, based on what experiences in this life you want to have. There is nothing evil about this, but it gets problematic when you want a better life and you are not experiencing a better life, but you are experiencing the orgasms. Did I know all of this when I first started this journey? No, I didn't. I just listened to my tiny inner voice, my source self-connection, to lead me to what I must do. And in my journey, direct downloads of knowledge began to happen because I somewhat did the work to line up my bodies with a huge desire for truth. Well, that's only if you are comparing me to the majority of source players. I appreciate the people who shared portions of this knowledge because I know what it costed me to obtain just some of it in the past. It costed me a lot of time I could have spent studying for college. I was a medicine student, and medicine students don't get to explore their psyche and consciousness, study religions, and read much of anything that isn't anatomy related, because you fail at every exam if you do that. Studying medicine in Europe is an extremely time and energy consuming process, and to be successful you must make your college education the top priority in your life. I, however, decided that the truth was more important than that, and at one point I remember thinking I would rather be very poor but have knowledge than die a rich man in ignorance. It has costed me hanging out with my friends. I was pretty, some would call it popular. People liked me. I was funny, socially smart, not bad looking, and had lots of friends, or better to call them good acquaintances. And I had every opportunity to lead a successful life for the mainstream standards, that is. One day die, and then that would be my story, yeah. I imagine me being rich, poor, living this life and that life, and I realized none of that is important if I don't know how I got here, what happens after, and who am I. I had a constant push and an urge to find answers, and I wasn't satisfied with just any answer. I demanded the truth. But you know how life is. You realize that's not an easy task, and you have a life, your family, your friends, your duties, the pressures of life, and you numb yourself down with video games, meaningless conversations, drama, drugs, parties, this and that. And it's really hard to break free and have the answers you really need and want once you get caught up in all of that. So it's not shocking that most source players suck in this game. I'm gonna tell you a bit about my past so you may relate to it or just figure me better from it so you know who is this guy you are listening to on YouTube. I know this is not the most beneficial thing to do, but some of you need to hear this and will benefit from it. Since I was 4 or 5 years old, I was obsessed with any cartoon or movie that had magic in it for some reason. When I played with my friends, I would always suggest we play some make-believe game where we are saving the world and we have different superpowers. And I know many kids do that, but I was really into doing that more than other kids I knew at that time. And even as time passed, I never lost this interest, let's call it magic, and anything related to it. So when I was about 14, 15, and I gained full access to the internet, I started googling magic because something was telling me that all of these fairy tales and movies must have some basis in reality. I mean, the concept of a vampire or a wizard, for instance, who thought of that first, and how did it become such a world known concept? And so interesting and intriguing to many that they put it in so many movies and books. And of course, when you ask your parents about it, they will tell you it doesn't exist because they were told the same thing by their parents, and they don't want to perhaps live in a world where a demon or a vampire can appear in their bedroom, because that would shatter the very foundation of what they thought this world, this experience we are having is. And most of them never saw a vampire or a wizard in their lives, so no reason to believe in such stuff. But luckily, I was the kind to ignore others and searching for my own answers. Both of my parents are doctors, and they got divorced when I was very young, and my mom was the rational, scientific type, and my dad was heavy into religion, specifically Catholicism, and still is to this day. And they never forced their own belief systems on me, but I was curious, and for as long as I can remember, I asked them, especially my dad, a lot of questions about life. And my dad provided me with information about the Bible and religion. Most Catholics and self-proclaimed Christians of other Christian denominations didn't even know, because they were that type that believes and goes to religious rituals more from habit and culture than from actual belief. So I knew information about the occult and religions since I was very young, but not in a way that programs me, just simply having the information most people really get in later periods of their lives. So even at that young age, I started to play this game, and not just taking my experience for granted, I started to search and dig for answers that would explain what I was experiencing here. In some life periods I was nudged more, in some I was distracted with life too much and paused my searching for answers, but life caused me to ask and never really be satisfied with what I've learned so far, because it just didn't resonate with me completely. So, when I was about 16, I found out more about the so-called Illuminati and Freemasons, and I remembered my dad showing me a Masonic lodge in my hometown when I was about 12, and introducing me to the very concept of Freemasonry, and I realized that that's something that doesn't happen very often in many children's lives. Your dad is probably introducing you to concepts of football, and yeah, I also had all of that in my life, but since I was interested in this stuff even back then, I asked him a lot of questions, and he saw that I could handle the info, so I guess he told me what he knew about this stuff. So, back to when I was 16, I realized that the world is kind of controlled by these secret societies and Satanism, and that they put hidden messages of Lucifer worship in the entertainment, and the world is not what I previously thought it was. Basically, I was in a conspiracy mode stage of my life. because I had a basis of occult knowledge of how magic works, which I learned because I was interested in that, and now I see that these people who are rich and on the top of the society pyramid also know this stuff, and they worship owl statues and do rituals on universities and whatnot. I figured that there is something to this, and I was terrified at first, and I wanted to know more, and the more I uncovered, I was even more terrified, and I figured that the only way to battle these demon worshipping people, or to just protect myself from all that, is to join the good guys, aka God. And I was about 18 at that time, and I thought that I should just be Catholic because it was a part of my upbringing, and that will protect me from Satan and all of these things. However, I didn't stop searching, and I watched YouTube channels such as RSE and many others, and I figured out very quickly that the Pope and the Vatican are also a part of these cults, and that they are just as satanic as the politicians and string pullers are, even more so because they are pretending to be on God's side using the Bible as a veil and twisting its verses so they can make people participate in rituals that have nothing to do with real Christianity, but instead are derived from ancient religions. So again, my previous worldview shattered. So then I was like, okay, the only thing that is reliable is the Bible, and everything else is Satan twisting facts, meaning other religions, New Age, science, claiming that the world is a globe, it's all lies, and you get the mindset I'm describing, I think. And all of that was fear-based because I knew something was wrong with this world, and no one prepared me for this. I wasn't born with a manual on how to live life. It's something you have to figure out on your own. And most of my friends didn't want to listen to what I have to say about all this. They wanted to talk about subjects that are considered normal for people their age. And so I felt lonely, and YouTube was really the only place I could find people who are experiencing the thing I was. Time passed, but I was never completely on board with the whole Bible and Christianity thing because some stuff completely didn't make sense to me, and I wasn't satisfied with the typical "oh, you'll know when you get to heaven" answer, and so I continued to dig, to search, but at that time the Bible was the best thing I had to figure things out. And I gave up a lot of my time at that point to do that. Also, in the same period, I was curious about stuff such as LSD. So very soon I figured out you can order any drug via dark web, and so I did. I ordered 25 500 micrograms on each bloods of LSD, and those are the bloods with a high dose. And so one day when I knew I was gonna be alone the whole day, I woke up early in the morning and took one blot. And I wasn't silly about this. I did a lot of research before about the substance, and even in my college books I read that lysergic acid is completely harmless physically, and even pregnant women can take it. And I listened to lots of people who had experiences with this drug. So I took the blood, and I was a bit nervous, so I distracted myself with a TV show for an hour to combat anxiety. And in one moment I looked through my window and I remember thinking, whoa, when did this world got so magnificently beautiful? Everything was amazing. Everything I touched, smelled, listening to music was just epic. And all of this was before my heavy Christian phase of my life, when I was a good boy and when I truly declared myself Christian. Anyway, on my LSD experience, I saw walls and objects becoming fluid. Everything started to move like it's alive, and it was all wibbly wobbly, and everything had a geometrical pattern on it. A pattern that is hard to describe because the pattern itself was moving, and it looked something like on this picture. And it didn't matter if you watched mountains that are far or your skin, everything had the same pattern. Other people confirmed to me that they experienced the same visual phenomenon as well. And everything looked interesting and beautiful and magical, and you feel really happy and wonderful for a time. And after 2 to 3 hours, you reach a well-known phase of an LSD trip called the peak. And it feels like you are coming down of the trip, but actually you are entering another phase of the experience. Your awareness starts to expand, your consciousness, and with that expanded consciousness, many people don't like what they see. They become aware that they don't have the best looks or that their life sucks, and that's what is commonly called the start of a bad trip. It can be quite unpleasant. I always knew how to break through that because I was prepared for that part, knowing that it's a common aspect of this drug, and I could always tell myself, okay, I'm on a drug right now and the drug is altering my perception, and I need to enjoy this experience while it lasts and get the most out of it. And so I learned how to navigate the experience so that it can't affect me negatively. And that does require some strength of mind, and many people are just not capable of doing that. And it is a challenge because it's not something you are used to. And everything around you seems like a fusion of the waking life and a dream state at the same time. It's best depicted by a movie I place clips of in my Call of Source video called Waking Life. It's like you are awake and dreaming at the same time, and it's quite interesting to talk to other people in this state because your brain is full of energy and it's almost like you energize them. And what I've noticed also is you attract people that you have really meaningful and deep conversations with. And I really had some of the best conversations with different people who didn't even know I was on that drug at that time. And a connection is created between everyone you speak to. The quality of the words kind of goes into the background and you can almost exchange thoughts. And every time when I had these moments, I realized it's not the drug, it's me. I should be able to be like this all the time. Why can't I be like this all the time without the drug? And now I know the drug only unlocks your reserve energy and floods you with it. But it's artificial, almost like cheating, and you do pay for that. And your frequency doesn't rise, you are just flooded with energy on whatever frequency level you are. You also attract and create really bizarre situations, and it's not hallucinations because aside from the object moving and geometrical patterns, you really don't see much stuff science would call hallucinations. That is if you are on pure LSD. One time I took 2 blots at the same time, which is 1,000 micrograms dosage, and I literally saw all matter starting to move so fast. It was like waves of sound, of energy that are projected from a certain point, and I really saw that everything here indeed was an illusion, and that the only real thing is the I am consciousness, me. But when you strip it of all the artificial additions, it felt so small, and that's because at low frequency levels your consciousness is undeveloped. And it was beautiful and scary at the same time. I took LSD maybe 10 times in my life, and each time when the trip ended I realized that for some reason I didn't really needed it, because all that happened to me and a portion of knowledge I gained, I already had it in me. It came from my subconscious, and my subconscious is always with me. However, the LSD merged my subconscious with the conscious, and that's why if you have a lot of unresolved issues, they surface on those drugs, and that's what causes bad trips. However, if you bring your subconscious mind under your control, you are a very powerful source player. When you take drugs, you are connecting deeper to the matrix, especially with drugs such as LSD and DMT. You are connecting to the matrix system, and yes, you can obtain information from it and feel more knowledgeable, but that information doesn't have to be true. And after you take drugs and have these experiences, you really don't feel empowered, and they don't benefit you in your day-to-day life. Instead, you think about what you experienced, and that drives you away from your now moment and taking your power, because you see your source fractal exists only right about now. And now, and now, and on drugs you are not connecting to that fractal, you are connecting to your subconscious body, which is your higher self or your real physical sleeping body in the first layer of the matrix. My LSD experience just gave me more reason to keep searching for answers, and that there is something more to this experience of life. Something simple and yet few really understand, but I didn't know what it was, or why, or who I am really, and what am I doing here. Drugs will never ever help you connect to who you are and bring you empowerment. I also knew that stuff like astral projection and Akashic records were real because I have experienced them before. I read a book called Astral Dynamics that teaches you how to astral project and navigate the astral realm, but what I didn't really know back then is that I was paying a price for those experiences. The only thing I really learned from it was that our consciousness can indeed exist outside our current body. I had all these experiences in my attempts to find the truth, but I always kinda had a scientific approach to them and had source guidance that really kept me from following the wrong path that would ruin my life and possibly claiming my soul, because the ascension path, the Kundalini experience was exactly that, and it was mentioned in that book I was reading. You just have to have a gut feeling that there is something fishy about the snake rising in your spine. And all these Hindu gurus seem to me like someone who I personally really didn't want to be. And even though I was involved in all of this non-beneficial stuff, I had guidance in me that prevented me from going all the way on any of these paths. And today I know what that guidance was. I used to call it God, but today I know it was just me, the true me. And as a philosopher's stone turns everything into gold, all these experiences benefit me today because I learned much from them, and I get to share them with you today, so you don't need to take the longer route to get to what you are seeking. But of course, some of you will still do that, and that's fine. However, if I were you, I'd do it as soon as possible, because I don't really know how much time exactly we have left to try out different paths. So anyway, back to the story. When I became a Christian, I labeled all that druggy magical stuff Satanism, and I turned from my evil ways of mysticism. And as time went on, I realized I was miserable, and I realized that yes, all those conspiracies about the Illuminati made sense to me, but where is God in all of this? Where is He? Why did Jesus die to save us, and after He did, He lets people to be born in this world so they can just have a chance of going to heaven? And if you screw up, you are rewarded with everlasting suffering. And that's something I couldn't find in myself. I couldn't relate to it, because I knew if I reached to the depths of my goodness, I could indeed forgive anyone, even Hitler, for his crimes and not punish him with everlasting flame. I mean, maybe the guy had a traumatic childhood, right? And yet this loving God damns beings He Himself created to everlasting torment forever. And even though I couldn't relate to that, I knew its pure psychopathic behavior, because of the other stuff that resonated with me in the Bible, I chose to justify those things in my head, because the Bible had the best answers I found so far. The Old Testament describes a God that is destructive and jealous, and I couldn't relate to that as well, and it just didn't feel right. And then I discovered the Chiron Last Golden Web videos, because I somehow learned about word magic. And I searched for such information. I was shocked because Chiron's material resonated as truth to me, but I didn't want to betray my God, and I really didn't want to live in a universe where I'm just a battery for the alien gods. It was a more terrifying thing to accept, and Chiron didn't offer any practical solutions to how we are to escape this matrix or any happy ending to all this. And that was even more terrifying. So I literally tried to forget what I heard in those videos, and I tried to advance in Christianity. And as time went on, I figured out that my life is becoming something I don't want it to be. I couldn't go back to being quote-unquote a normie, because I could not ignore what I learned, and yet what I've learned brought me misery. I became so desperate and confused and exhausted, not knowing what I should believe, that I became indifferent to everything at one point. I think it was the defense mechanism of my own mind to protect itself. I was done with everything, literally. I said, I don't care what it is, but I demand the truth now. I'm done with searching, I just want it delivered to me now, or I give up. And I know now that that's where I created the frequency that attracted this knowledge to my life. That's a frequency, a mindset that is necessary to unlock this information in your life. I'm not saying you need to go through what I've been through, but you need to have a pretty strong desire for truth. And it must be powerful enough to activate the law of attraction to bring you this information. I basically said, God, I want you to show yourself to me now, if you exist, or I'm done with you. Not a gust of wind or some vision. I want you to come to me now and tell me the truth now. I know all of this dark stuff in the world exists for sure, but I just can't put it all together to understand it, so I need the truth about everything now. And I literally waited for about 3 hours on my knees doing nothing but that, and waited for something to happen. Nothing happened. That day was around 1 week before Christmas of 2016. After those 3 hours, I went on my computer and I remembered the Golden Web videos, and I found them again and I started to watch them, and I knew that the only solution that people offered as a response to this knowledge is the blood over intent ritual. And I knew in my core that that can be the solution to anything, that something is completely wrong with harming yourself and doing blood magic. And so in more of my searching that same day, I found the video Don't Do Blood Over Intent by Quartz Crystal. And all of this happened the same day after I said I had enough, I want the truth no matter what it is. So I decided to watch that video, and after I watched it, I was like, whoa, that was interesting, but this is probably just another new age lady selling pendulums and giving a discount to them if you donate to her channel. And I was a bit off-put by the fact she's asking money in each of her videos. Regardless, because of my knowledge boner, I decided to watch her Difference Between Source Players and Soulless Ones video series. And after I did, I was like, whoa, this would explain a lot I've been experiencing, and the message resonated with me. But I couldn't know that she was speaking the truth for sure, it just grabbed my attention big time. and it was information like I never heard before, and yet it sounded like something I already knew, something familiar to me. So I watched her other videos and they made much sense because it was something that finally connected everything I knew before. She was speaking about these things I thought only I knew and had figured out. And I connected her info with everything I learned before, and it all made perfect sense. Of course, the question, how do I know this to be true, for sure arrived. How do I know she knows this to be true? She's suggesting I remove the animals in her every video to have the ability to experience this and that, and I said, okay, I'll do that. I mean, what's the harm? I decided to give it a 3 month shot. Plus, in the past, I did kinda always wondered why did mankind in the Bible went from eating fruits only to killing animals. And I thought, we really don't have the physique that suggests we are omnivores. I mean, it's easier to climb a tree and pick fruits rather than forge spears and kill a running animal, because no animal wants to be killed. They offer resistance, and plants are like, here, have this apple, I'm waiting for you to take it. It will rot if you don't eat it anyway, right? And without tools, we don't have teeth to lethally bite a cow like wolves do, and the process of cooking is kinda bizarre. No animals cook their food. None of this made sense to me, so I decided to test it on myself as always. I also given $10 to Quartz Crystal only to access her Patreon page because I was interested what else she has to say, and at that time she really didn't have as many videos as today. She sent me the inner alchemy information and a bunch of other interesting stuff that I didn't want to do without being sure it's something I should be doing, although I kinda had a good feeling about it all because I still had religious programs that were telling me that I'm betraying God and similar things. So after a few weeks of not eating animals, I felt my brain becoming lighter. I didn't have mood swings as I did before. Everything started to become calmer somehow, different. And I couldn't exactly tell how, but I felt like a fog was lifted off my mind. So after 2 months of I verbally unlocked my script, not sure what's going to happen or what exactly was I doing. I was just giving it a shot because I had nothing really left to lose in my mind. But I noticed something happened. My thoughts were more clear. Intruding thoughts of fear and worry began to completely disappear. And it's something I have never experienced before. I started to feel like some parts of me were given back to me, like for the first time I'm able to really think for myself. But I still didn't have the strong knowing that this is what I should be doing or who I really am, just a good feeling about it all. So as time passed on, I realized the Matrix was giving this knowledge and it's everywhere and I just didn't notice it before. And it was a confirmation to me to stay on the path. Plus, I was kinda okay with the whole not eating the animals thing because I really didn't miss the meat. I never enjoyed it that much anyway. And so, slowly, my consciousness began to expand. I reduced pornography, orgasms, video games. Gradually, I started to feel a pressure and tingling in my third eye area, and this energy expanding outwards of my head, and that's why I started to experience that deep knowing of who I really am. I wasn't becoming someone else, I was becoming more me, the best version of me. I became more calm, rational, intelligent, still had emotions but could totally rule over them. Before, I used to have anger issues and that was gone. I started to hear people's thoughts and everything became so clear and sharp, and I was given the understanding of many things, and that process took place in over a year from the day I stopped eating animals, and I still haven't reached the top frequency, but I realized when I reduced the orgasms that my brain is activating. I could feel the parts of it I couldn't feel before. The knowing was getting stronger. I saw my life shifting to a better course in front of my eyes. Amazing experiences started to happen to me. I completely lost all fear and worry, and in one point my frequency rose to the point I realized I have source fractals living on other timelines in this game, and that they are all me. This exact me consciousness, but with different attachments to it. That's what was previously required of you to win this game, to escape this matrix. You needed to raise your consciousness so you can include all of your fractals and escape with everyone, with your whole self. You really start to grasp that this body isn't you, that many of your thoughts in this matrix aren't yours, and that you are just consciousness and a being that is wearing this matrix artificially, superimposed on it. And when you focus on that point inside you, on the other side of you, that is your entire being that is fractalized in this game in different timelines, and the only thing that separates you from that wholeness is your soul cage, you really know at that point who you are. You don't need to question, are you on the right path, is this true or not. You just know it because it's a part of who you are. And that's an epic feeling, and it's not like you are meditating in some cave and having this mystical experience. Your life starts shifting for the better. You start making smarter choices because your brain is powered with energy, and you think better, and you know you have the energy to act upon those choices, and you see everything so bright and wonderful, and that's how it manifests. So Miss Judy on Quartz Crystal claims that after she raised her consciousness high enough to include all of herself from other timelines and unlocked her soul cage to free her fractals through her soul cage, she won this game by including everyone. How do you think she did that? It's the frequency level 11 that is necessary to do that, because it takes a realization that even your whole magnificent consciousness fractal sum, that is you, is a part of an even larger consciousness that is source, and that we are all one, and then the winning of this game was possible. But it's not enough to understand this in theory. You must experience and know this and be of that consciousness level. And the only way to do this is to raise your consciousness to the highest level in this game. And that's why contributing to that channel, to the winner of the game, unlocks those frequencies to you, because you are living up to your highest expectation in this game. And that means that by contributing to her, you understand you are actually contributing to yourself, because that action sends a message to the universe that you know we are all one. It's something she never explained directly on her channel. It's something you must get on your own, but many of you probably know this already. That winner could have been any one of us, but it just didn't happen. There are other people who know a lot about this and are sharing this on YouTube without knowing about Quartz Crystal, and you can find so much useful articles on their pages and on their channels, but most of them are still searching and don't have all the answers, and many of them point you to the Kundalini process as a counterfeit inner alchemy work. When you do this thing, you willingly inject an entity in your energy channels, and once you complete the process, the entity knocks down your fractal and your game piece is captured. Not possible anymore, however, you will waste your time. But to be sure that I'm speaking the truth, you may go to all these paths and see for yourself what will they bring you, because if you have a weak connection, there is no way you can know that I'm telling the truth now. And it's not a cult. I'm not creating a cult here. This is an individual thing, and it's just information, data. What you do with it is totally up to you. I'm not suggesting you go and contribute to Quartz Crystal or to believe her message. It's something you should decide for yourself and know if that's something you should be doing. All I am doing here is telling you a story, sharing my experience so some of you may benefit from it. And many of you will never get it, and you will have a resistance to it, and that's fine, because you don't need a frequency level 11, you only need to remove the animals so you don't breach the law of kill and be killed, and you'll probably survive the harvest. And once that's over, you'll find out all of this for yourself at some point. There's no guarantee you will unless you unlock your script and revoke your death contract, but again, you need to figure out if this is something you should be doing. I would probably have never advanced this far in this game if it weren't for Chiron Last and Quartz Crystal information. Both of them have shortened my journey immensely, and I'm very grateful for what they did. You must realize all of this is an anomaly in the Matrix. I couldn't have made these videos because it was never in my script to do this. My script was medicine student, possibly marriage, work from 9 to 5, get old and die, or the harvest, but that would have been a lovely surprise. I can only imagine what it did to me in previous lives. I will address now the disabled comments on this channel. I know many of you have questions and would like to comment positively or negatively, but I can't deal with that in my life. I have a life, and when I read your comments, I have a need to respond and help, but it's too much of my time and energy, and as I always say, give yourself time and you will find your answers on your own. If it's something really important and urgent, you can message me, and many people do, and I try to reply as soon as I can, but open debates below videos are a huge energy drainer for everyone, and that's the reason I disable them. And as for other channels I named on this channel, not everything on them is source truth. Not everything on my channel is source truth. But you need a good connection to sort it all out. I could have listed more channels I watched that are super interesting and useful, but also have lots of Matrix lies, and I don't want to cause confusion. Sometimes I'm not even sure I should have listed any of the channels or talk about Quartz Crystal, because it can possibly do more harm than good in some cases, but I still think that it is more beneficial than harmful. For those who get all of this and have acquired an even higher level of consciousness than I have right now, and I know there are some subscribers who did, I'm really amazed by you guys, and I know you are living your dreams. Well, everyone most certainly is, but I know you are living your amazing dreams and not average or nightmarish lives, and I know you watch these videos just for fun, because there is nothing new really you can learn from them. I can only say it's really a privilege being here with all of you gamers, and we have won this game, and even though we kinda sucked most of the time, it's a pretty awesome experience on low and high frequencies. I shared just a small percentage of my experiences and abilities I acquired in this journey, and that's something I'll let you discover on your own, or not, the choice is yours, and I may show you some of it in the future. I will try to finish the decoding series very soon, and in those videos I'm really focusing on the basics. And once I do that, I won't be going into that much, because I really think you can use those to figure out everything else you need. As for the future of this channel, I don't really know what it will be, but I will definitely go deeper in some topics and be sharing my experiences as they come, so they can serve as encouragement and support for those who are on this path. Thank you everyone for listening, and of course, my best wishes to you all. Be and stay awesome.